So today I'm going to be working on an issue we all know air suspensions are great. You know, it's fantastic to be able to come up and down, especially if you're doing towing or if you're doing off-roading. Air suspension can be really useful. If you're very familiar with German cars, especially like Allroads, we're very known for it. The Touaregs, some Cayennes, probably a bunch of others like Mercedes and BMW. However, that's not my area of expertise. I'm more familiar with VAC cars, and these tend to have some of those too. This car is 20 years old. You can't expect rubber pieces to hold up as good as metal because that's just simply what happens to rubber with age, and they do tend to leak, which is exactly what we're dealing with here. It still works. The front still gets up. However, after the car tries for a little while, it will throw me a fault saying that there's an issue with the, can't remember what it calls it. Doesn't matter, I'll have it right here. So it tells you that there's an issue, and then you would notice that your rear does not lift up. Something I have noticed in the past, maybe I'll be able to demonstrate it. So here I can fit 4 fingers. However, on this side, as you can see, I can fit 5 fingers pretty easily. I can also hear some hissing coming from that exact wheel well when the compressor is working and trying to air up the suspension. I can hear it hiss. That tells me that there is a leak over there in that corner. There's multiple places where that leak can occur. There's a common leak at the top of the strut, there's a common leak at the bottom of the strut, there's a common leak where the line connects to the strut, and worst case scenario, your actual bag, the stuff that holds all the air, can burst, and you definitely don't want that happening because that means that has to be replaced. That's not the case here. The fact that I can hear hissing means that the bag itself is fine. There's just a small leak somewhere. It is pressurized somewhat. Today we're going to try and fix that. I don't really have any of the parts yet, nor have I ordered any, but I want to see what the issue is first before I start ordering things. By the way, I'm still very new to have a lift at my disposal, so hopefully I don't mess this up. So once I hear both sides latch on, then I need to lower it. And as you can see, when I keep pressing down, it doesn't go down because it's sitting on the safety stops, whatever it's called. And that's what's gonna keep the car from falling down and killing it. Something I should definitely mention is that you need to put the car in jack mode. So if the bag is fully extended and the compressor tries to kick in and fill it up, you really don't want that happening because that's gonna potentially blow the bag. To put it into jack mode, you just on this car, you just hold down the air suspension lock button for 3 seconds. That activates the jack mode. So here you can see our shock. It does look pretty rusty, so it wouldn't be surprising if there was a leak in one of the lines going into this. But anyway, we can see one bolt at the bottom of the shock. We can see a connector, and then we have some bolts up top, which do look like they would be a pain to get to. It looks like we have 2 brackets at the top of the strut. They allow the strut to move and kind of rotate on them. So there's some sort of like a hinged sort of situation up there. There's 1 bolt right here, 1 bolt down there, and the same thing is on the other side. 1 and 2 hiding in the dark over there. So what we have is an 18mm bolt and an 18mm nut. I really hope that you either have a lift or just watching this for educational purposes, or because you're enjoying my amazing personality. Because if you're doing this because you don't have a lift and you really need this fixed because you're having this issue, you can have a pretty bad time. This would be so much harder without a lift. I'm so glad I have this now. I just got the shop like a week ago, but as you can see, I'm definitely taking advantage of it. I'm gonna do the back bolt first because once that's loose, we're only gonna have 1 more bolt holding this up, and I don't wanna have to mess with the clearance issues. Okay, so we only have 1 more bolt left. It's the forward one on the left side of the strut. So I'm gonna slowly start backing that out. I don't really think that the strut is gonna fall. I'm pretty sure it's gonna get stuck in something. But I also don't know how much clearance there is between the strut and the line. Maybe there's a very short amount of line there. Okay, I see the line. It is on the back of the strut. Oh man, this thing is heavy. Because obviously I don't want this hanging on the line only. And it is in the back of the strut. I guess the one good thing about doing this on jack stands is that the strut would just rest on the ground. So there goes our line. This is a 12mm fitting. And yeah, there's a decent amount of play once it pops out of that clip in the back, which for me happened on its own as the shock was coming down. And this line is semi-flexible, so in reality it should be okay to pull on it a little bit, but don't go too crazy. And here's our shock just hanging out on the control arms. Hopefully if I just rotate it, it'll slide right out. Perfect. Ta-da! I can't seem to be able to compress this thing whatsoever. Oh wow. So considering the fact that it doesn't seem like this thing is losing air anywhere but here, I assume that the leak might be from this valve. So I'm gonna use vice grips to try and take this thing off. I tried needle nose pliers and that didn't work, so we're gonna have to go caveman with this thing. Oh, there you go, easy. I'm not sure if it's supposed to start spitting out air on me. I would really hate for this to just shoot out and take it. Oh, there we go. We got air coming out. Oh yeah, look at that. Went right down. Okay, so I've ordered the valve. Even though I'm not positive that this is the issue, I think it is, because it does sound like it's coming from up here, and considering the fact that it doesn't leak air unless it's trying to fill itself, I feel like it has to be the valve, right? Maybe I'm wrong, but we're just gonna test it out, put that in. So we ordered that. That should be here within a couple of days. And if you're new to the channel, here's what we're looking at with this Touareg. I bought it with a slightly messed up timing job. I redid that, I fixed it, and then I found out that it has an oil pressure issue, which is something that the previous owner told me about, but I didn't believe him because I'm an idiot. So eventually this is gonna get a new motor, I assume. Or I do plan on pulling the motor on this thing, so potentially all I have to do is replace the crank bearings, and if that's not the case, then we are gonna put a new motor in here. Outside of that, it's got some major oil leaks. I think there's a power steering fluid leak, and the valve cover gaskets leak a lot, worse than I've ever seen. And that's most likely because the previous owner, when they were doing the timing, I think they messed up with the RTV, didn't put it where they should have, and the valve cover gaskets are very leaky. Even though this thing basically needs an engine, I'm fixing the air suspension because once again, I'm an idiot. Another issue is that I haven't found a motor yet or had the time to pull this one to see what the actual issue with it is. Now it still drives relatively well, and it has really bad front brakes, very, very warped rotors, even though they look to be almost new, so I'm assuming that one of the previous owners just messed up the brake job. But I'm addressing the air suspension issue because that keeps it from being drivable the most at the moment. Outside of that, I really, really like this Touareg, which is why I haven't given up on it, even though it has very major issues, or issue, the engine. But I love that it has the air suspension. I installed a tow hitch on it, and I do plan on, I really, really hope to fix this thing, get it to run and drive properly, and use it as my hauler, my off-roader, maybe overlander, because I love all that stuff. And these things can tow so much weight that it will be very, very useful for my side hustle of flipping cars, as well as the YouTube. And off-roading is something I've been wanting to get into. I just haven't had the right car. I think this is the right car. I love my Europeans, I love my German cars, I love my Volkswagen cars, and I think these are very, very good. I Would love a Cayenne, but haven't found the right deal yet. As of now, the oil pressure issue doesn't start until you drive it for a solid 20 minutes when the oil is fully warmed up, which is another thing that makes me believe that it's the rod bearing issue, or rod bearing, crank bearing, whatever, because once those warm up, they expand. That would make sense for the oil pressure to drop once they're all warmed up. Now we have one of these valves. I know there's some kind of special tool to use with these little tabs, but obviously I'm not doing that. And we also have this nozzle that goes on to the other end where the line connects. I don't think I'm ever gonna get tired of doing this. I think they might just sell it with this just because they don't want people to lose the little clip. And we slide on the fitting. And once it's on in about the same location as the old one was, we can put on the little ring clip. I'm gonna use needle nose pliers to try and push it on because it is being stubborn. There we go, that's much better. And now the strut is ready to go on, presumably. I'm gonna clip this line from the two clips that hold it. One right there, and the other one back there. That gives us enough room to spin this into place. And we're gonna give it just a quarter turn, or up until I feel like it's good enough. Unfortunately, you can't really see the line very well. This is as best of an angle as I can get you, but it is in here and you can reach it from under the car by the rear differential area. Okay, that was the sound of one of the clips. Now we gotta try and find the other one. Line after line and put it in. There we go. Both clips are now secured and we're ready to bolt up the strut. It's proving to be a little difficult to shove this into place, so I'm gonna try and hammer it in. Because this is not laying up too well, I'm gonna pry it into place, try and work in the bolt. But now the problem is that the sway bar end link doesn't want to go on because this is sitting too high. I'm not going to worry about the sway bar end link as of yet. I'm going to try to use these wobble extensions. So I'm going to pull down on the rotor with my left hand, and then I'm going to push up on this with my right hand and try to slide it onto this bolt. Let's see if that works. Oh, perfect. Because this has bushings, we want this tightened down once the car is at its operating height. Tighten that sway bar in this position. Let's see if we can start her up. And we're gonna set it into a higher position just to see what happens. It seems that all four sides look perfectly good. I'm so happy. I have definitely never seen this thing sit so high. This is actually pretty cool. I guess that's the wonders of having things fixed. I guess we can drop it down at this point to auto level because, oh wow, it adjusts the mirrors for you too when you change levels. That's awesome. Hopefully we didn't lock up the motor with our low oil pressure. I just took a pretty sharp corner just to see how it feels, and honestly, suspension feels fantastic. It feels way more comfortable than anything I normally drive because I usually drive German sports cars, and this is pretty new to me. After I drive this for about 15 minutes and the oil gets to operating temperature, I do get low oil pressure, and eventually if I kept driving like that, the motor would blow. So this thing is not fixed yet, but we still have time. We're still gonna get this thing fixed. I've actually just today I finally registered this thing because I plan to use this as my business car. Oh, and actually I forgot we did brakes, and brakes feel pretty good too. Oh, something I did not do was torque down the lug bolts, so we should definitely get back and do that. It is officially registered to my brand new LLC, which is very exciting. The LLC is what I'm setting up to get my dealer's license. Now that we have a shop, we can do the dealer's license, and I'm actually in the process of doing all the paperwork for that. It takes a lot of time, but we're gonna get there, definitely, eventually. I have a few more permits to get, and then I have to submit everything, which is probably gonna take a while in processing. I don't know what this warning light is on the right. I got rid of one warning light just to get another one. How great is that? Fuel filler cap is not properly closed. I feel like it is. I don't even remember if I've ever filled this car up before, so I think it's probably maybe a small evap leak. But yeah, this is gonna be my business car because I primarily bought this. Wow, this thing feels great over bumps. I primarily bought this to be my hauler, to tow my other cars and pull all kinds of trailers for motorcycles, for picking up stuff from Copart. All sorts of stuff that I do requires pulling a trailer. And if you can hear that beeping, this thing has parking sensors, which is, you know, for 2004 is a really cool technology. Let me show you something else that comes with air suspension, which I think is incredibly cool. So when we go into the rear seat, we're gonna ignore that. That doesn't, oh, maybe it does. There is seat, and that brings it out. You pop this open. Hold on, where is it? Oh, I guess it's on the other seat. So we're gonna go into the passenger side, and we're gonna see this little hole here. That little hole is gonna solve a lot of problems. So what this here is an air hose. It's cruising, which we can use, yes, you guessed it, for filling up our tires, which is awesome for off-roading. And listen, yes, I will admit that this isn't as cool, since nowadays it's very easy to get a portable compressor that just plugs into your cigarette lighter. But how awesome is that this came with this SUV in 2004? I've never owned a business. I've never gotten to register a car for a business. So this is awesome. This is a lot of new stuff going on, and I'm very glad that you guys are going to be a part of it. So if you enjoy this content, and if you'd like to see what I've got going on in the future, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit the like button to get me recognized more by YouTube and off the algorithm, because that would be very, very useful, as I really do want to make YouTube my career. Dealership is great, but it's not as cool as being a YouTuber, and that's what I really want to do. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.